waiting to hear the Diddy sentencing. Is going to be starting soon. Hold on, okay. So, we are waiting to hear what's happening with Diddy and his pre-sentencing hearing. He's not going to be sentenced today. Last week, after the verdict, we went to the bail hearing, and we were waiting to get hear what's going to happen in terms of his team wanted. The defense was asking that they expedite the hearing, because they want to get this over with. Diddy, they want to know what his sentence is going to be and all of this other stuff. So the defense, they asked for it to be expedited. Hold on, you guys. Let me check some stuff out. Okay. So they were asking for it to be expedited. So let me tell you what we know so far. So I just flipped on, and this is from Inner City Press. And this was from about an hour ago. And he says, in the U.S. versus Sean Combs, now joint request that the sentencing hearing take place on September 22nd, 2025. The government does not object to this schedule, subject to the consent of the probation office. So what, if anything, will they discuss at 2 p.m.? Okay, so let's read. Okay, let me. I'll just keep it on what they filed, and it looks like they filed it today. It says, Dear Judge, the parties have met and conferred and have agreed to the following schedule for sentencing. And you guys, please like the video if you're coming in now. The post-verdict motions and submission of offense conduct to the probation office. For sentencing, the defense proposes that the probation office provide the parties with a pre-sentence investigation report on or before September 5th, 2025, that the defense sentencing memorandum and objections to the PSR, so that's the pre-sentence report, be filed on or before September 8th, 2025, that the government's sentencing memorandum and objections to the PSR be filed on or before September 15, 2025, and the sentencing hearing take place on September 22nd, 2025. Because in all of these, like in any court case, there's like a schedule. It's like a ticker where, there's certain documents have to be in so many days. Once you file this, then you got so many days to reply. So they're setting out the schedule in terms of how all the documents, when they should be replied to. The sentencing hearing will take place on September 22nd, 2025. The government does not object to the schedule. Perfect. So that's good. Subject to the consent of the United States Probation Office. So it looks like the one party or entity that still has to agree to all of this is going to be the probation office. For post-verdict motions, the parties propose that the defense file any post-verdict motions on or before July 30th. So that's like very soon, before the end of the month. So for post-verdict motions, the parties propose that the defense file any post-verdict motions on or before July 30th, and the government respond on or before August 2025. So they're setting up. Hey, Truth Over Emotions, is the sentencing date set in stone? No, not yet. That's what they're talking about now. So the defense is proposing they're proposing to the judge. They're saying that we met and conferred, and we are in agreement, but the probation, and I'm not familiar with the probation office, but it sounds like the probation office still has to do an investigative report, and they have to weigh in on it. But generally, stuff like this, most parties are probably in agreement. I guess it would depend on how many cases they have to do their investigations. More, I'm thinking it's more logistics versus them being like the probation department. They don't care. It's going to be the two parties that have the biggest deal in this, or what's a better word? The two parties that are most impacted and are most concerned would be the government and the defense team. Probation, they're probably kind of neutral. but they just need to get the paperwork together. So finally, the government requests that it be permitted to submit its summary of offense conduct on or before July 11, 2025, and the defense does not object. We appreciate the court's consideration. So we're just waiting to hear. Inner City Press is live tweeting today, so I'm showing you guys the screen. Now, let me say something. I was just on Uda. Actually, I did a video about him. Y'all go check it out. Please, please check it out. So I was just on Uda to go his live, and because he's going to be going into the court if they let people in. And Charlucci, y'all know that is Diddy's like best friend, childhood best friend. He was saying that the bail is still on the table, the bail request, because you know it was denied last week. So I didn't know that. Generally, from what was reported and the documents that I read, bail was not an option based on, you know, some of the charges that he did receive in prior behavior. So I didn't, you know, so it sounds like Charlucci is saying that the attorneys and the defense team, they're still hopeful that they can get a bail while he's waiting on sentencing. I'm going to jump out there and just on my little legal knowledge, hell, I ain't no attorney, but y'all know, you know, I was the secretary. I'm going to say they're probably going to say no. I'm thinking if the sentencing hearing is going to stick to the schedule that they're proposing for September 11th, September 22nd. I mean, no, like that's what, July, August, September. Wait, July, August, September. I don't think so. But I mean, hey, you never know. You know, he has some great attorneys. They may be able to work some magic. So let's see. You guys know these live tweets are crazy. So let's see if there's any update. I'm trying to get an update for us. Let me turn back so you guys can see Inner City Press. So he's live. Now, they said that this was going to be a remote hearing. So I don't know if people are actually going to be able to get in there. But, oh, here. So let's hear what he's saying here.
Now, on the U.S. versus Sean.
Let me start it over.
Okay, here we are. Matthew Russell Lee, Inner City Press, here at the Southern District of New York Courthouse. Today, it's Tuesday, July 8th. Now, on the U.S. versus Sean Diddy Combs, after his 2 convictions with 3 not guilties, today at 2 p.m., there is a hearing on expediting his sentencing. His bail was denied, but the judge seems committed to move his sentencing up from October 3rd. And I'm assuming that Mark Agnifilo and his other lawyers will be asking for time served when the time comes. Now, meanwhile, so we'll be doing that at 2. Instead of it being by phone, which it could have been, since it's virtual for the lawyers, it'll be in the courthouse. But so will we be. There it is right there, the courthouse. But there's been a development. Early in the trial, in the first week, in fact, before the trial's testimony and even opening statements began, during jury selection, we noticed that one of the prospective jurors said he worked at the U.S. office, the UN Office of Counterterrorism. And then he was asked, does that mean you work in any way with U.S. law enforcement? And he said, no. Now, I used to cover the United Nations. In fact, I still do. I write scoops daily about it. But I report on it pretty aggressively. Anyway, I know that office, and they do work with U.S. law enforcement. So it just sort of stuck in my craw that why would this juror be misrepresenting? And on the second day, they asked him more about it because it wasn't credible. He said, no, we work only with Interpol and something about the Dushanbe process. Okay, didn't think more about him because he's just an alternate. And he knew he was an alternate. Only one alternate actually made the transition to being on the jury. That was alternate 1, who took the place of juror number 6, who was ousted for misrepresenting, according to the judge, where he lived and the credibility issues raised thereby. Now, alternate 6 went on CNN right after the verdict, and he said, first he said he inflated his importance by saying, no one told us who were the jurors or who were the alternates. That's totally false. He was there, I was there. Anyone that covered the trial heard them say, you are alternate 6. Fine. Then he said that the videos that no one saw except the jurors and alternates at the time, he said, they were riveting, but also kind of tame. Now, the question was put to him, he said, the prosecution showed videos of Cassie just sitting around, The interviewer then said, "You mean the defense?" He said, "Oh yeah, the defense." So then he went out of his way to mention 350 pages of notes, which, to me, called me a cynic. I believe alternate six misrepresented to get on the jury, as we reported at the time.
Wow.
And as soon as it was over, somehow was contacted CNN to mention his copious notes, possibly to sell a book. I mean, who am I to say? Who am I to say except to say it's extraordinary to me that this UN. Anyway, we'll have more on this. We've written a story. You can find it. And I think by going on CNN, all bets are out the window. Honestly, it's and the whole secrecy of the trial had a lot of problems. But this is a new low. This is a new low, frankly. Now, what else? Today at 10:30, very soon, we're going to be live tweeting the final pretrial conference in U.S. versus Roman Storm et al. It's the Tornado Cash crypto. It's a crypto mixer.
Okay, so that's all he has to say about Diddy. So yeah, I've seen that one juror go on and talk about it. It's interesting. I'm just hearing for the first time. Okay, so Lisa Hamilton is saying stop, accept the verdict. Yeah, I don't have a problem with the verdict. I don't know if some people, maybe you're seeing somebody in the chat that has a problem with it. But I've totally accepted the verdict. Actually, I think it was more favorable than what a lot of people wanted. The government was trying to get the RICO and they didn't get that. So Diddy is literally being celebrated for beating the feds. I mean, I don't know, like some people don't agree with that, but in terms of the feds and how they are usually able to steamroll over people, Diddy, when he got back to the MDC, they said that he got a standing ovation. The inmates, they were celebrating him, and I think a lot of people are shocked, surprised, and celebrating him because it's a rarity. And when I say beat the feds really wanted to get him on a RICO. Those were the more serious charges. Those are the charges that would have wiped out all of his money, put him away for a very long time, and they didn't get that. And who doesn't beat the feds, right? I mean, I'm just saying. So, listen, I don't have a dog in the fight, but I totally accept the verdict. I think that he did well. They had, remember the group Mark Garagos called the women a six-pack of white women? Well, hell, no, Lisa, it's fine. I mean, I didn't know. I was just kind of explaining, but I get it. And it's no offense to you either. Girl, hit that like button for me, though. Yeah, no, okay, so Lisa says, no, not you. I mean, him accept the verdict. Sound like he's reaching to invalidate the verdict. Why go there? Well, okay, so Lisa, but, to your point, here's the thing. That's what they're supposed to do. People forget that law is a test of wills and who has the better argument. And that literally, if you're new to my channel, I used to be a litigation secretary. First of all, attorneys don't give a shit about y'all. They want their money. And if you get a verdict or something against you, if you have the ability to appeal and to erode at the judgment, the verdict, that's what you're supposed to do. I don't have the kind of money Diddy has, but he has the kind of money. It just lets you know. I mean, we're able to even see that money can buy a lot. Seriously. Now, if it was the average Joe Schmo or Becky like me, hell, it wouldn't have made it this far. It would have been like, girl, come on, sit down. You gonna just sit down into the feds until you ROT, right? And those RICO charges would have stuck, period. But it just goes to show what money can buy. I mean, he had like the best representation. And I'm going to say, if I were Diddy or anybody, if you have the money to fight it, absolutely don't accept the verdict. Hell no, don't accept the verdict. Because you see, two of the counts, they lost on. So why wouldn't I fight it? That's what you're supposed to. I just think that's what you're supposed to do. But anyway, let's get into this. So Inner City Press is saying, okay, in the U.S. versus Sean Combs hearing on expediting the sentencing, joint letter suggests September 22nd. So we are already gone over that. Let's see. The new letter suggests October 3rd for sentencing. Okay, so we read the one letter. Okay, so this is something else. So let's read this really quickly. The parties have met and conferred and have agreed to the following schedule for sentencing: post verdict motions and submission of offense conduct to the probation office. So the letter we just read, you guys, like 5 minutes ago, said September 22nd. So for sentencing, the parties proposed the court's original date of October 3rd. What? The defense proposes that the probation office provide the parties with a pre-sentence investigation report. Now, if you guys can remember, please hit that like button as well. The basis of the letter is pretty much the same. The only thing that I can see that change is the date of October 3rd, which is, I don't know why they're saying that. So let's go back up and see what he's saying. A new letter suggests October 3rd for sentencing. Mark Agnifilo, Sean, is that you? Combs, yes. Where are you? Agnifilo, in my office. Okay, so Mark Agnifilo, which is Diddy's attorney, I guess Diddy is. Now I'm trying to interpret this just like you guys. This, we're not there. We're not in the courtroom, and we're reading tweets. So it sounds like Mark Agnifilo is confirming that it's Diddy in probably somewhere in the MDC. Combs says, yes, where are you? He's asking Agnifilo. Agnifilo says, in my office. The deputy, it says, is the government on? The prosecuting team, or I'm going to say government, says, yes. The deputy says, beyond the letter, anything? And no, the deputy says, we'll get back in writing, adjourned. So, let's see. That's interesting. If that would be pretty quick. So, Inner City Press, blah, blah, live tweet. So from what I can assess, it looks like instead of the September 22nd date, they've had a change of heart and they're going for the original sentencing. Let me go back. Hold on, you guys. Yeah, I don't know. They're not really going to tell us why they changed it. Maybe because remember the first letter, they mentioned. So Inner City Press says it's over. Combs Agnifilo submitted one letter, then a second. The deputy said Judge Subramanian will get back in writing on to other cases. Okay. So this is a letter. This is the letter again that they modified. I'll just read it one more time. Please hit the like button as well. It says the parties have met and conferred and have agreed to the following schedules for sentencing, post-verdict motions, and submission of offense conduct to the probation office. For sentencing, the parties proposed the court's original date of October 3rd. Interesting. Would really like to know why they changed that. Because if that was the case, then they could have. And think about it. They were proposing September 22nd, and October 3rd is only a couple weeks out from September 22nd. So very strange. The defense proposes that the probation office provide the parties with a pre-sentence investigation report on or before August 29th, 2025. So again, in comparison to the prior letter I read, you can tell that all of the scheduled dates are shifting probably by a week or two. That the defense objections to the PSR be filed on or before September 5th. That the government objections to the PSR be filed on or before September 12th. That the probation office disclose their final PSR on September 18th. That the defense's sentencing memorandum be filed on or before September 19th, and that the defense sentencing memorandum be filed on or before September 19th, and that the government's sentencing memorandum be filed on September 26th. The government and probation office do not object to the schedule. So they're agreeing to it now, which is the original date. We could have saved some time, and I'm going to give my opinion about this as soon as I finish. For post-verdict motions, the parties propose that the defense file any post-verdict motions on or before July 30th, and the government respond on or before August 2025. Finally, the government requests that it be permitted to submit its summary of offense conduct on or before July 11th, and the defense does not object. We appreciate the court's consideration. Now, what I can see. What happened is that once they reached out to the probation office was like, we can't accommodate your schedule. Yeah, because they have their own internal, things that they're working on too. So the only thing, because remember, the defense and the government had agreed to the expedited sentencing date, but the only pending party was the probation office. So it sounds like, this is what I'm thinking, that they proposed the date and they declined, saying we can't do it. So that's what I'm thinking. So okay, so Lisa, I'm sorry. You know how when you're at work and stuff and you put stuff in email and you go back and forth, things get misconstrued. So don't take me bad, or it's no way me like coming for you. So let me do this, Lisa. It's always love. We could agree to disagree, but let me see what you're saying. Let me go back. So Lisa says, girl, you're misunderstanding me. I'm not saying it sounded as if he was coming up with an excuse as to why Diddy was exonerated. Did I misunderstand? Diddy was not exonerated, though. So maybe that's a misunderstanding. He was not exonerated. Lisa says, wonder if that gives Diddy a complete year in to be better be given time to serve. Sounds plausible. Yeah, I believe when we were in there, honestly, and I'm just going off the top of my head, because my notes are not right by me. I remember the judge mentioning, that time served would be consideration. I think he kind of briefly went over the guidelines or kind of touched on it. And I believe within those guidelines, time served is something that they can consider. So yeah, I mean, it's plausible that his time served will, he will be credited with that. And the only thing that I was saying to you, Lisa, again, no beef or nothing, was just that the law game is very different. I think people sometimes kind of get their emotions in it, and it's kind of like a chess game, right? And so if Diddy has the ability to appeal, and that's anybody who's been convicted of anything, if you have the means to appeal, challenge it, you absolutely should. That's one of the things that I learned in law. For one, you never take just a no, or you never take the first sentence that's given to you, because there's always a counter. No matter, even when they cite case law, there's probably already going to be a counter to whatever they say, and there's going to be some precedents or some other case law that you can cite to, go against whatever they're proposing. So that's all I was saying, is that in Diddy's case, yeah, he should fight it if he can, But now, I mentioned to you guys earlier that Uda on the go, that Charlucci was there in front of the courtroom, and he was saying that and those of you that are just joining, please give me a like. Court is over, y'all. It's over. Both sides have agreed on the original date. Crazy, right? It's crazy because it was a remote hearing, and so there it is. I mean, but Charlucci was saying that it was a possibility that bail would be presented, that bail was still on the table. And as I said, I said I didn't think that would be an option. The judge was pretty adamant about it. There was a letter, you guys, I know you've heard it, where there were alleged victims, because some of the people didn't testify. So I'm going to talk about Cassie and a few of the other people. When we were there waiting for the bail hearing that day after the verdict, Cassie's attorney was the first one to submit a letter showing that it was mandatory that he be held. And I don't know if I can even find it that quickly because I ain't that fast on this platform. But yeah, Cassie's attorney presented a letter, and he reached out to the judge. It was like saying no, bail has to be denied based on mandatory civil code section blah 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 blah. So based on that, I mean there is already law to say why it shouldn't be, and the judge went with that. So I did not think that this was going to be an opportunity for him to get bail today, but there you have it, you guys. Diddy ain't getting out today. Let's see. Did I miss anything? Yeah, he's not going to get out today. And it sounds like they are just going to go with the original sentencing date. Now, in terms of the guidelines, I remember the judge saying that they were miles apart in terms of what they were asking. Of course, Diddy, the defense team, was just like asking for maybe like a year and a half or something like that, maybe 2 years. I forget, it was like 21 months. And the defense was asking for closer to like 4.5 years. And so the debate again, and it's going to be subject to the judge, is, the guidelines. He has to use the guidelines, but it's going to be up to the judge. The issue is he going to make him serve it consecutively or concurrently? Because if he gives them the higher end, like let's say he even gets the 4 years, if he does it concurrent, I mean, then, a lot of the attorneys and everything are saying if he does it that way, then it's only going to probably be about 2 years. But if he has to do a concurrent, I mean, so that's the 4 and then the 4 or whatever, he will get that time served. But that's going to be damn near 10 years on him. And at Diddy's age, I mean, y'all, nobody wants to do no time in prison, right? So he's not coming home anytime soon. I don't know why some people are so upset about it. He's not getting out. But you guys, I'm gonna take a second, and I wanna play Takapino, who was the attorney in. If you guys remember, the attorney for ASAP Rocky, he had talked about it, and I thought he gave some good information. So let me go to his video because he talked about the RICO early on, and a lot of people that were really familiar with RICO explained why they didn't think that he was going to get the RICO charges. And you guys, this doesn't look good for the government. Don't nobody go up and beat the feds. Like, people were really celebrating him for this. I'm just saying, Let's see. Let me see if I can find the Takapino. Because he came out, he kind of predicted it. He was like, it's not going to happen. Takapino in the verdict. Let's see. He talks about it. Okay, yes. Okay, so I found it, you guys. So let's listen to what he says about it. Because I didn't know for sure, because I didn't know much about how, I don't know much about RICOs and stuff, so I can't even begin to lie, but let's listen. Okay, let's listen here.
You called it. You really did. I don't think I need to be a genius to call this. I mean, that was a case that was so over prosecuted. It was really the most expensive prostitution trial in the history of American jurisprudence. That's all.
And that's what a lot of people were saying. I just felt that the charges could have been different. I don't know, because I don't know the federal laws in New York and all of that stuff. But I feel like there were charges that they could have brought against him. I know that the DV charges had run the statute of limitations, so it was too late. But there are workplace harassment and workplace violations that you can bring that will result in criminal charges. So I just feel like they could have used maybe some different law, but hey.
All it was. Racketeering to me was a joke. a racketeering enterprise. I mean, when we think of racketeering, we think of things like organized crime, drug cartels, vicious gangs born to commit crimes. I mean, was never a racketeering case. Sex trafficking is a high standard. Sex trafficking, you really need fraud, coercion, force. There was so much evidence of consent in this case that it was impossible for 12 people to believe that sex trafficking happened. That was not sex trafficking. Again, that was some horrific stuff.
And I'm going to say, because I was literally in the courtroom for the first couple of weeks, came back to California, then went back out there. When we listen to the testimony, I know some people are like, well, he abused Cassie. He did. But the things that they showed us, if you really looked at what was presented, it seemed like a toxic relationship. It seemed like a drug-fueled, crazed couple. And we see this all the time. We don't generally see wealthy people beating up on each other, but that's what it presented. And so then for them to put in our minds that it was a RICO, it just was such a reach. When you looked at the elements of the RICO, the enterprise, and it's established to, profit by doing these illicit things or crimes, it didn't look like that. It looked like Diddy, yes, he was, a CEO of companies and had businesses, but he had a toxic relationship and he abused his girlfriend, which, yes, if you were able to go back however many years, if Cassie had brought this case against him years ago, she probably would have gotten more time, better results. But to get the RICO, it's a stretch. And y'all, I got something else to say, but we're going to finish Tecopino.
And whatever, but everyone was a willing participant at times. So, it was, to me, it was absolutely going to wind up being this way. And if you have a doubt that's based on reason, you must acquit. And here, there was so much evidence of consent. I mean, if you looked at the contemporaneous text messages that were elicited by the defense throughout this trial of Cassie and the other one, it was clear that they were consenting, at least at portions of this. So, when is it consensual? When is it not consensual? I mean, this case was, again, I called it from the beginning, not because I'm a fortune teller. I think I called it because the evidence and the charges sort of were pretty clear to me that this was going to wind up being a prostitution conviction. And we spent God knows how many billions of dollars in federal court talking about baby oil, applesauce on hamburgers, the stupidest stuff I've ever heard. Urination, the things that you really don't expect to hear in a federal district court. That was the gist of his testimony. So, look, Diddy was proven to be a bad guy, but this is not the case. This was not the case to bring against him. The whole thing was weird. It was not done right, and it was done, as I've said before, I believe to garner publicity for certain individuals, and maybe they wanted to make a name for themselves. But this did not help anyone's career from the U.S. Attorney's Office. That's for sure.
You guys, so that is interesting that he said it like that. That this was possibly done to further some careers. Comey, I don't know. I talked to some attorneys and asked their opinion of it, because I remember when I used to be a litigation secretary, if you drop the ball like this, heads would roll. You got your senior partners in a law firm, and then you got your associates and everything. And this was this cost the state millions of dollars. So I don't know what's going to happen. I did talk to some attorneys, and they said that, there wouldn't be any dismissals. But let me tell you, in corporate law, in the private sector, you do some ish like this and you lose like this. This was not a win for the government. Somebody's getting fired. It's just how it is in law. That was a huge misstep. It was too many eyes on this. This is a hit for the feds. It is what it is. Now, another thing that I did a video. You guys go check out some of my please, my pre-recorded videos. I feel like, for people saying that Cassie's a victim, I feel like the government set her up. The government had a narrative. Cassie was fine with her settlement with Diddy. She was not going after Diddy for any criminal things. If she was interested in prosecuting him criminally, she would have done it years ago. Cassie got her $30 million and was cool and gonna go sail off into the sunset. The feds came, because we heard all of this in court. The feds came 2 weeks later and said, oh, hey, you know that case you have against Diddy? Well, you know, you could be a co-conspirator, a co-defendant. So we gonna need you to talk a little bit more about this, or your ass gonna be sitting next to him. Hence immunity, which most of the people who testified received. So I feel it's kind of unfair the way they claim we're for victims, but you use the victims to fit your narrative under the veil and the threat that you could be charged too. You see what I'm saying? So now we get Cassie out here testifying against Diddy. Y'all got to remember, think of it this way. If Cassie got immunity, that means that she's complicit, right? So now that those escorts, those entertainers, the same thing that Diddy is being prosecuted for, you know, that he's serving time. Yeah, y'all already know. They're coming for Cassie too. And they can. Because if you tell us, just look at it in the legal realm, they've already set a precedence with her case, with these with the convictions against Diddy. So they've said that you're guilty of the Mann Act. Well, what we know is that so was Cassie, because she participated, and I'm not knocking her, saying, you know, I'm not saying, you know, that she's guilty or anything. What I'm saying is the way the law works, it's a dirty game. Now, with this verdict against Diddy, they have set her up to be sued as well. And the guy, the worker, he's coming after her and Diddy, because now he is essentially, based on the law, he is a victim as well. Now, let me turn this off for a second, because I'm going to look up something. I want you guys to see something, because a lot of people are saying, no, he's lying. No, he's not lying, because Cassie admitted in court that she would set up the experiences with the escorts. So she's already testified that that's true. And they presented the names of all, well, not, I don't even think they provided all of the names of all the different escorts, because I'm thinking that over a 10-year period or however long they were doing this, that there are probably some that they didn't capture, but maybe they gave us the names of the ones that they used most frequently. So they've already established, yes, these workers were used, and Cassie testified to that. And now this person has a lawsuit. Now, let me just, I'm not presenting law from any legal books, you know, but let's go here, because AI and Google ChatGPT will give you good information. Of course, you have to research it for yourself. But I use this a lot, because generally they're pulling from legal resources. So I think my question was, even if a ex-worker agrees to and you know, I got to be careful, prostitution, I forgot how I phrased it before, and it's consensual, can they still sue for trafficking? I wrote it somewhere like that. You have to be a little bit specific how you question these things to get the, you know. Okay, so this is, so you guys forgive me if I didn't articulate it as well as I should have, but so here's the answer. We're gonna look at this. Hold on, you guys. Okay, let me turn the camera around. Okay, so my question was, if, let me go back up here. Even if a sex worker agrees to the prostitution and it's consensual, can they still sue for trafficking? And the results in many jurisdictions, yes, a worker can still sue for trafficking even if they initially agreed to the if force, fraud, or coercion was involved. Trafficking is defined by the use of force, fraud, or coercion to exploit someone for acts. Initial consent does not negate the possibility of later experiencing trafficking if the individual was subjected to force, fraud, or coercion. If a third party, such as a PIMP or trafficker benefits from that through coercion, it can be considered trafficking regardless of whether the individual initially agreed to the work. So the workers that are going after Cassie are probably and Diddy together, because they're suing both of them together now as a Bonnie and Clyde duo. They're probably going to use the fraud. I don't know if coercion. We can say Cassie was coerced because she had a 10-year relationship with him, and as a result of the her being hit by him and things like that. So she had the ability to use the coercion. However, the fraud. Remember, Cassie first came and said that when she would get these guys to do it, she would lie. So that's fraud. I'm just saying something as simple as that. Those things can be used to prove their case, because she said she would call them under the guise of her and her husband just want to have a little bit, a little experience and all of this stuff. And it's a lie. And then I think it was the Punisher who said initially, when she contacted him, she was like, we're celebrating an anniversary or something. We want to try something different. That wasn't the truth. So I think a lot of the guys in the first contacts or something, Cassie, when she contacted them, she said it was her husband. It was a celebration and fraud. And trust me, they're going to, any element in the case, they're going to use it. It's just the way the law works. So Cassie is facing an uphill battle. Now, that $30 million that she received, let's cut that in half. Well, we're not cutting it in half, but we're going to say that the attorneys generally get like 33%, something like that. Then I guess there's the taxes. So let's say she netted 20 million. Let's just say that. Now she's got the she's got a secure, she's still got to have attorneys on record, because she has to defend the fact that she don't want to, well, they're civil suits, so they're not criminal. But and I don't even know if, now one thing I don't know is whether or not these escorts, I'm supposed to say entertainer for YouTube guidelines. I don't even know if these entertainers can come and now try to get criminal charges against her. I don't know. I don't know that part. Probably not, maybe with the statute of limitation. I don't know. But what we do know is that the precedent has been established, and the Mann Act, Diddy is guilty of it. So they're going to try to extend that same law and theory against Cassie. Now, they are the victims of Cassie and Diddy. More of them are going to come out of the woodwork. They're coming for her money. Cassie got $30 million. They want a bit of that, you guys. And I feel like the government kind of set her up to further their narrative. They don't give a ish about these people. Women get brutalized every day. Nobody gives a damn. But because it was attached to Diddy, he had money. All of a sudden, now we're going to get a RICO. We're going to punish him for him, beating her up. They have not been together since 2018. So that's almost, it's not a decade. But seriously, yeah, he did stuff to her. But y'all think you're going to come damn near a decade later and punish this man for beating up on his girlfriends for something he did 10 years ago? Not that he's not guilty, but that's a DV. The statute had run. And so I just feel like them using Cassie as kind of like dangling her, and now look at what she has to entail. If the government hadn't gotten involved, Cassie would have taken her money and been done, and it wouldn't have been an issue. But now she has been set up. She has to defend herself. There's only the guy is Clayton Johnson. I might have his name wrong. There's one person coming after her now. Well, her and Diddy, let's say. But do you think the other guys, I think it was approximately 8 to 10 regulars they used, and not to even mention others who are going to come out of the woodworks claiming that they had an experience with them as well. So now the money that she gained, it's almost like blood money, to be honest, in my opinion. It's sort of like Cassie's karma. I don't know. This is not to vilify Cassie, but what I'm seeing is that I feel like she was set up by the state, and now that she's tossed out there, they're coming for her resources. She's going to have to get an attorney to you know, she gonna have to fight this case. I heard yesterday that it's on abeyance, so that just means that temporarily it hasn't been resolved, but for whatever reason, there may be some additional documents or things that need to be submitted for, for the case to go forward. But what we do know is now Cassie has entered into the orbit of Diddy as being considered, a defendant. She's got to defend herself. Those cases are very expensive. Of course, it's not a criminal case, so the retainer fees are not going to be what Diddy had to pay. But now let's say, again, like I said, let's say she netted $20 million. That's a lot of money for me, okay? But Cassie is in the realm of Cassie's world has been vastly different from the average person. She's used to a particular lifestyle. Now, the money that she has, how much of that is this man suing for? The same way that Diddy settled with her for the 20 million, because what we found out is that Diddy gave her 20. And if y'all go back and look at my old videos, some people were saying Cassie got 100 million, 50 million. I was one of the few people, because I know how law works. I knew that he didn't give her that much money. I knew it was something around what they had stated they were asking for. They're generally never going to go up. If I ask you for 50 million, you're not going to give me 51. That's just what it is. So, when it came out that she had asked for 30 million or whatever she was asking for, people were going on here talking about, oh, Cassie got 80. It's like, y'all don't know law. It really just doesn't work that way. But the money that she got 30 million. I believe this man is asking for millions. He could be asking, and I don't think that he's going to be asking for the same amount that she was asking Diddy for. She asked Diddy for that amount because of the years that they spent together. There's a lot of things, it would be a different schedule, what they can ask for, but definitely they're going to be asking for millions. So right now there's just one person. Let's watch and see. I'm going to predict within the next month, 3 weeks or so, she's going to have another person. Now, I know one of the workers came out, one of the white guys, he came out, he was like, oh, she's a good girl. I think he's religious. It was kind of crazy to me, too, because he was touting, he was so saved and everything, but hell, you slinging, And I'm just saying, I know God loves us all. We all sinners, all that stuff, but it was kind of crazy. Like, you bringing spirituality and God up when you up here bending people over anyway. So he was saying that he had no intentions of doing a tell-all book or anything. But let me tell you something. For the average person, when the attorneys come knocking at your door and they tell you, hey, I'll take this, I'll take this on a contingency, meaning you don't have to pay them, and I can get you $1 million settlement. Ain't nobody that damn rich where they're going to be like, oh, nah, I'm not doing that. Your morals have to be very, very high. Because I ain't going to lie. If an attorney comes knocking on my door talking about, celeb, listen, you were taken advantage of. We are going to protect your rights. We can get you a couple $1 million and there's no retainer fee. Let us do all the work. What y'all think I'm going to do? Where can I sign? And I kind of feel like, and even you got to be careful with that, because when you do things like that, like it's almost like a chess move. When Cassie did this with Diddy and she sued him and she put it out there, their, bedroom secrets and stuff, because she said she was going to write a book. I believe if she wrote the book, it would not have been as salacious. She would have put, a lot of things out there. But I don't believe that she thought it was going to escalate into an indictment. The feel that I got when I saw Cassie on the stand and heard her, saw her face, her emotions, her reactions, was that, we can debate whether or not she still loved Diddy, whether or not she's still in love with Diddy. We're not even going to debate that. But my view is that she wasn't expecting for him to be in the mess that he's in. I feel like she didn't expect Diddy to be arrested and for there to be an indictment and for him to be in prison. I don't think she anticipated that. It was a chess move that she didn't see. You know, when you play chess, like there's some 3 or 4 moves ahead that you never think about. I always tell my daughter that when you do one thing, baby, there's multiple things that can happen that sometimes you're not even thinking about. And I really don't even think that she was knowingly understanding how now the feds are coming in and their personal text messages are going to be on public display. It's for public consumption. She told us what she wanted to. She put in the lawsuit. That was very contained. That was her, that was her view of what happened. That was her narrative. But once the Fed stepped in, they uncovered everything, right? So you are no longer in control of the narrative or the information being put out there. They're going back, getting old laptops, devices, and reading your text messages. And I think a lot of information that was disclosed was stuff that maybe her husband really didn't even know. I don't think so. I'm just gonna keep it, I feel like a lot of the information that came out during the trial may have even been a shock to him or additional, more information. I just don't believe people just tell when they do a tell all, nobody does a tell all. Some stuff is just like, damn, I can't tell them that. So I feel like Cassie kind of overplayed her hand. And it's not her fault. When she filed the lawsuit, she probably thought, I'm going to get a quick 30 million, whatever. But it hasn't stopped. And now that she's gotten this money, there are even more things that she's going to have to contend with. And, they're saying, hold on, y'all, one second. They're saying, this is word on the curb. We don't know. Because another thing that I learned going to this trial, you cannot believe everything you see in the media. But anyway, it's being said that there are starting to be cracks in the marriage. They're saying that, her attorneys, and mind you, the attorneys were at the court with us. So people are talking, information is being leaked. It is what it is. Those are facts. That her attorneys are trying to make sure that she protects the money that I don't know the state, I don't know the laws in New York in terms of if you're married, is it community property? If you win a settlement, is it, community, you and your husband? I don't know. But what we were hearing, and y'all remember her attorney was there in the court too, and people are just talking that she has been advised to protect her assets and the money that she received. Remember that money went to Cassie, but she is married, and they are saying that the husband has been kind of blowing through the money. Now, we don't know if that's true or not, but one thing I'm going to say is there are a couple pictures that I saw. They were, I'm going to say right after Cassie got the money from Diddy, maybe it's almost 2 years now or a year and a half, I forget. There was a picture, and I talked about this in a prior video, where Cassie and Alex, her husband, had gone to Paris Fashion Week, and they were wearing like full-length fur coats. And I just thought, damn, like it looks so much like pimp hoe type stuff. And for lack of a better way to say it, like after you win in such a salacious case, you told us that this man has pimped you out, and you standing next to your husband in a full-length fur coat. Because if y'all remember back in the day when they had those black exploitation movies, the pimps used to wear those full-length furs, and y'all standing up there almost like you came into a jackpot. Is that the best you could represent? Because now you really looking like a HOE to me. I'm just saying, and I have a video of it. I have the picture of it. I got to pull it up for reference, because once I saw that, I saw her husband, Alex Fine, in my opinion. Oh, you just traded Diddy in for a new PIMP. That's what it looked like to me. Why y'all couldn't have business attire on? Fashion Week in Paris, like it's so many things. Alex could have been suited. You could have had a beautiful dress on. They standing up here in full length furs, like back in the day when the PIMPs had their HOE on the corner, and it just was a bad look. I was like, come on, Cassie, it seems to me that you are in the same space. You're going to let a man kind of dictate to you. And that's her husband. So, of course, she got to follow his lead and everything like that. But when she was on the stand, she was talking about her trauma therapy. And I think they had this particular place where she was getting treatment. They talked about, they had treatment for love addictions and the fact that she is a love addict, or she allows, when she gets with somebody, for them to kind of overtake her. And I feel like it's the same thing, with her husband. I mean, I know that it's her husband, but she wanted Diddy to be her husband too. Diddy just wasn't going to marry her. Diddy just wasn't going to ever settle down and just be with one woman. So she had to kind of accept that. But I feel like she has been handed from Diddy, and I don't believe that her husband, and let me just say this, hell, I don't know these people. I don't know anything about her husband. People are saying, oh, he's such a good guy. He got her away from Diddy. Possibly. But what we found out is, even while she was with her husband, she admitted on the stand that 2 to 3 years after him, she's just been off of DRUGs for the last couple years. So that whole thing, with her husband, I don't know. Even Armand Wiggins kind of touched on this, because I know I'm not the only one. But if you look at their pictures and you look at their history, they both look like, I'm talking about the new husband, it looked like he was on DRUGs as well too. Allegedly, in my opinion, from what I could see. I don't know if they were, right? Can't be, putting bags on people as if you know for it to be a fact. I don't know if they were. But they look like they were having some hard times, and it looked like the husband, like they was probably still doing that. And Cassie testified that she had gotten treatment. She had gone to a treatment center and everything. But I feel like they was doing it together. And this is years after Diddy. I think she said she got clean in 2023. If memory, I got it in my notes. But she went to a rehab, and she had been treated for DRUGs. She got treated for, she went through trauma therapy. And this place also they did, treated people for love addictions. Now, I think, if I recall, when they were doing the cross, they asked her, did you ever go through some kind of a love addiction therapy or something? And she said, I can't, the way she answered it, from what I recall, it wasn't like it was a no, but it was kind of like a vague, So I think Cassie has a problem when it comes to men and relationships. She seems to be kind of passive, and we choose wrong with men. She was so young when she got with Diddy, but I feel like Alex is possibly, I don't know. I have a feeling about Alex, and I feel like Alex is the one got her from Diddy. Probably not putting her out there doing the freak offs like Diddy, but I don't know that he wasn't doing the pharmaceuticals with her, and I don't know if he helped coerce her into doing this lawsuit and is now spending her money. Only time will tell. But I feel like we will know what's going to happen with this relationship in another year or two. I personally feel there's going to be some kind of a fallout. I do. I think there was too much information that came out in the in her testimony that he would have to be damn near Jesus Christ himself to accept some of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's like, whoa, you did what? Whoa, what? It's just too much. And I think the thing that a lot of us were really shocked about, now some of you guys may disagree, because they have the people that come in and talk about the therapists who talk about the once you've been in an abusive relationship, naming their daughter Frankie after Diddy's alias when they would do the freak offs at the hotel. His name was Frank Black. I just can't wrap my head around that, right? That's just me. If I were in a bad relationship like that and we had these aliases, the boogeyman or whatever, ain't no way in the world I'm going to name my firstborn kid anything relatively close to that foolishness that debauchery. I think a lot of people are just shocked and stunned by that. And again, that didn't come out until the trial. After we, people when they gave us the names, because and see, like, that was not in her lawsuit. I don't recall that being in her lawsuit, talking about what the names that they would use or anything like that. Those are things that were uncovered as evidence, and I don't think that she even saw that information coming out. It was kind of like, it's going to be ish coming out that you didn't even think about, that you're going to have to explain, and that could be embarrassing, and your husband's going to hear. So I don't think she was properly prepared for the fallout. I don't. I feel like the government used her, kind of set her up, and now they're just leaving her out there to hang and dry. Where do you go from here? Like, your marriage has got to be strained. She has a new baby. Everybody was talking about how stressful this was on her. Now they've thrust you in the middle of some new lawsuits. That's nuts. Now your husband knows some things I don't give a damn that you probably did tell him. Let me tell you this, even say this. I don't know those of you who have ever been to therapy, because I've been to therapy before. The therapist will be asking you questions, and my mom's a retired nurse practitioner in pediatrics. So my mom would always teach me, everything you say. Well, the law firm taught me everything you say can and will be used against you. But my mom used to tell me, be careful what you say, because everything will be in your chart, right? She was from old school. So even when I would talk to my therapist, and this is probably not a good thing, I may not have been the best candidate for therapy, because I'm always thinking, well, damn, you can't say this, because this 20 years from now, this could come back and haunt you. And so you're even guarded. I don't know how honest people are about anything. And not even to mention your subconscious. There are certain things that you've been through in life, certain things that you've done. Your subconscious will bury it just for your own survival and for your sanity. So you cannot make me believe, and that's just me, you cannot make me believe all those horrific things that we heard Cassie testify about. Some of those details, I really, really don't believe her husband had heard. As I've stated before, he was sitting at the back of the overflow courtroom one day. He was sitting there. He had his head down. He looked flushed. He was red. Now, some people are saying he was upset because Cassie, she was giving her testimony, and that, he was just upset that his wife is going through this. But I'm going to say some of the things that he heard as a man, my wife did. It's a lot. Even, I don't know if you guys had even heard this, like Ben Affleck and J-Lo. They're divorced now, right? Well, there were rumors. Again, we don't know if this is true, but it's interesting that they got married before this drama. They divorced when all of this stuff blew up. People are saying that once Ben Affleck had heard about some of the stuff that J-Lo may have done, and a lot of this stuff is lies. We found out once we got to the court that a lot of it wasn't even true. That he couldn't reconcile it. He had a hard time, like, damn, J-Lo, you was... Because people were coming out with stories about J-Lo and Diddy and the stuff that she did. Even talking about her being in the club with the GUN, right? All of that stuff. And they said that once Ben was hearing all of these vile things about J-Lo and her connection with Diddy, that it really messed him up. I believe stuff like that. If you are married and you might know some seedy things about your spouse, people tell you, but it's like, damn, you were holding like that, and you in the club holding GUNs. It's like, it totally taints a person's picture of you. So, I don't know. No, those are rumors, but the fallout was that's one of the reasons that, that their marriage ended. And I don't believe that. I remember J-Lo and Ben from years ago. They always had a tumultuous relationship, right? Ben didn't like being in the media, and J-Lo was, she was just a girl that wanted to be seen, right? But I'm going to say that it's a hard pill to swallow to hear that your girl did all of that stuff. And another thing, hold on, you guys, I got to cough real quick. One of the key things that I think was, that was really hard to swallow if I was her husband was when they talk about the night that, okay, so let me paint this picture. So, of course, she's painting Diddy to be a bad guy. They finally break up. Kim Porter is deceased. She's kind of being with Diddy. You know what? My timeline may be off, okay, because I'm just going off memory. But, okay, let's say this. I can't remember if it was before or after Kim Porter's death, but she goes over. Somehow they hook up. They broke up, right? Cassie is dating Alex at this time. Alex is her boyfriend. Her and Diddy are not together, but they're still corresponding every now and then. So he convinces her to come over to his apartment, or he went over to her place or something. Again, I don't have my notes, so I'm just going off the top of my head, so y'all forgive me. But I'm giving you the big picture, right? They hook up. Mind you, she's still dating Alex. She goes and meets Diddy, or he comes over to her house. Diddy allegedly forces himself on her that night. Okay? Now, I question that because, remember, Alex is her boyfriend at the time. So I don't know how he found out or if he found out. So the story goes, I believe that's when she alleges it was grape because, my boyfriend, we know Diddy is not about to marry you. Diddy got a harem of women. Your best bet is to be with Alex. That's your best bet. So Alex finds out. And so what do you say? He forced himself on me. Because as the husband, what the hell were you doing at his house? You got a home man now. I'm your man. You don't even need to be dealing with him. Why were you there? What happened? Oh, we just went to talk, but you had a relation. You had relations. And she knows. Listen, y'all. Diddy, if this got back to Diddy will let your husband know I upped her. So she kind of can't lie. Diddy knows the husband. Diddy is saying, y'all need to give me my money because I done found out y'all been ucking behind my back. Give me my mother ucking money. So she knows that night that they were intimate, just like when he was saying, I'm gonna tell Cassie everything. And Mia was like, oh, well, I felt like, well, yeah, tell her because you've been coming on to me unless you've been ucking him behind Cassie's back. So same thing. She knows she can't lie on Diddy like that and say, she can't, that Diddy will hold it over her head. So she has to become clean and tell the husband, yeah, well, we weren't intimate, but he forced himself on me. That's an excuse. He forced himself on me. Now, Diddy or didn't he? I have no clue. But that's probably what she told her husband, okay? To appease him. He did this. 2 weeks later, hey, loving myself, how you doing? Please hit that like button, girl. How you doing? You guys go follow her on Loving Myself. She has a YouTube channel. So the husband, like I said, she tells the husband, he forced himself on me. So the husband's pissed. What? He done forced himself on you, mother. I'ma knock the black off that mother, whatever. But then the other part is, well, babe, why did you go over there? We're together now. You got to get over that. Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you for that. So the husband is like, why'd you go over there? Oh, we had some unresolved issues. He was crying about Kim. And, I just felt compelled to do it. And then he forced himself on me. Okay. Husband is like, I could KILL him. But okay, we going to let that be. I'm good. Let me chill. 2 weeks later. See, and the thing about it is when we were in the courtroom, when they were talking about the grape, the defense was really, because her timelines were off. It was some discrepancies and inconsistencies, and they painted that picture. They didn't call or try to say she was lying, but the way that they attacked it kind of left an image, I'm sure, in the jurors' heads, the same way with mine. Well, wait a minute. The timeline was off. You don't remember the dates. But after he raped you, you went back over there 2 weeks later? She goes back 2 weeks later, y'all. Now the husband's sitting back there in the court. He's listening to all this because that's the day he was in the court in the overflow. He's sitting there. He's leaning forward. He's kind of, his cheeks were very red, child. I don't think I have blush on, but if I had blush on my cheek, this how red his cheeks would be. He's sitting there. He's leaning forward. He's rocking his knee. You know, he's leaning forward, and I think his brother. They said it was his brother or somebody related to him. He's like, oh, you know, baby. Let me tell you, everybody gasped. I'm telling you, it was drama in the courtroom when this happened, y'all. Now, this is, I try not to get crazy about it, but let me tell you, I gotta tell y'all this part. So she's telling, hey, Juror Bolsonaro, welcome to the chat, Presidente. Thank you for joining. And please hit the like button when you come in. Okay, you guys, so we're listening to her testimony about, you know, Diddy and he raped her and stuff. And so it kind of painted a picture of doubt for, I'm sure, a lot of us when she got the timelines wrong. And then when they mentioned about, you know, Alex and finding out and all this stuff, right? So then she goes over there 2 weeks later. Okay. She hooks up with him 2 weeks later. Let me clarify, because I can't remember if he went back to her house, she went to his, whatever. They get together. Baby, they are he done raped you 2 weeks earlier. You got a whole man. Y'all got to put logic to this. I'm sorry. I get the, you know, abuse and surviving it and da-da-da-da, all of the fancy schmancy explanations as to why people do what they do. But you got a savior. You got your new man. He has rescued you from this horrible troll, right? This monster. He's already violated you 2 weeks ago, and you run your ass back over there for what? You got a good man at home, baby. What did that movie, Waiting to Exhale, when she said, was this, I forget if she said Stella, but she was like, you got a good man, right? Let me say. So then her and Diddy is grinding. Y'all know what that means. They grinding, y'all. Why does he call the boyfriend at the time, who was now the husband? He calls, and let's see, I don't have a cell phone. And you know what she do? They in the middle of doing whatever they doing. D&D. I'm in the middle of knocking boots, bending over, grinding. Don't bother me. We're busy right now. She didn't answer the phone, and she put it on not accept. They brought that out because they were like, okay, so you were with Diddy in the middle, and so what did you do when he called? I didn't accept it. I forget if she said I blocked it or whatever. Y'all know what you do when somebody call you, you don't want to be bothered. Send that ish to the trash. Don't call me right now. I think that everybody said, what? Everybody gasped, y'all. That was a moment where everybody was like, oh my God. You mean to tell me this man violated you 2 weeks ago? Your savior is calling you and y'all doing it and you ignore the call? That sounds to us like, I don't know. What does it sound like to you guys? It sounds like to us that you wanted to be there, right? So everybody in the courtroom, I'm telling you, we were in the overflow room. So, you know, we could get a little bit rowdy in there, even though they would tell us to shut up and, don't eat, don't do this, don't do that. In the main courtroom, I don't know, but I'm sure they were gasping there as well because everybody was shocked. It was like, are you, what? Like, so that's why I think a lot of people got the sentiment that Cassie was still in love with Diddy or still has feelings for him, and that maybe even though the government wanted us to believe that it was so horrific, because we did see the video, I don't believe a man should ever I'm a woman. I don't want nobody putting their hands on me. I've never, you know what, and knock on this plastic, because you know ain't nothing wood now. You got to pay too much money if it's real wood. I've never been hit by a man. I have been violated verbally. I've been called out my name. I have had, I'm going to say, some verbal abuse where somebody just, you know, says things or, you know, they do things to kind of, you know, bring your self-esteem down. I have dealt with that. But in terms of, and that's worse because those things are insidious and they stick with you. But in terms of a man ever putting their hands on me, oh my God, thank you, Lord, never. And I really, I have to thank my mom. I attribute it to my mom because she was like, my grandmother was abused. And so it was always something for the women in our family. Like that's just a no. The first time he lay a hand on you and he ain't your goddamn parent, get your ass up out of there. So, fortunately, I had those kind of women around me. Like that's never an issue. That's never an option. It's not what you do. The slightest thing. I think I shared with you guys one time. One of my managers, which I had sued that company, but one of my managers had a little post-it note, and me and her didn't get along, and she threw it at me, and it was a little post-it note, y'all. It hit me, baby. You threw something at me. Oh, a post-it note. I'm in HR and I'm at the doctor and I was off for 2 weeks. Don't throw shit at me. I don't care. Shout out to AT2 for just joining. Y'all go follow AT2. He has a big channel. He's a big YouTuber, you guys, but he comes over to my little chat. Thank you, AT2. But yeah, you guys, don't touch me with ish. I don't give a damn if it was a post-it note. Don't even blow air too hard on me. I'm telling, and I'm gone. So, the whole thing with Cassie is like, how much was he abusing you when Alex calls and you gonna keep getting your grind on? So that's why everybody was like, we kind of I think that had the jurors questioning it too. And I understand they have the therapists who say, oh, abuse is insidious and you don't know, and it's like they have that syndrome where I forget what they call it, but where somebody is doing something to you and you stick with them and you fall in love with them. A lot of people were saying that is very well what could have gone on with Cassie, but there was too many inconsistencies. Another thing, even when they talked about the Jane Doe and Maya, and I'm not going to slip up and say their names, and don't y'all say them either. We did, let me tell you guys, honestly, we saw a group of women competing for his attention. I believe all of those. I believe Diddy is nobody in his orbit that he didn't uck. I'm just saying that's how I feel. Hell, if I was working with him, I probably would have bent over too. I'm just saying, I don't, not the freak offs, but I'm just saying Stockholm syndrome. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Stockholm syndrome. I don't think there was any woman in and about him that spent any amount of time with him that he didn't touch on. I just don't think so. Was he appropriate for doing it? No. But did the women allow it and or maybe go with it because there was some kind of a financial benefit or whatever? I do believe that. We are just finding out, allegedly, and I don't have the source. I don't have the source right in front of me, but this is okay, y'all. Y'all got to follow me with this, and y'all tell me what you think. Why didn't KK testify? Well, we know there's some legal issues, some technical reasons why she didn't, but she could have actually gotten immunity and testified. She has been named in some cases as a co-defendant with Diddy, civil cases. Still doesn't mean she could not have gotten immunity and testified. So now here's a good thing though. So Diddy's attorneys are representing her as well. So I mean, it's so many different elements to this. It's so chaotic, and you really need a piece of paper so you can write down and be linear with how you present the information. But why didn't KK testify? I think KK has an undying loyalty to Diddy. Now that he didn't get the RICO charges, now that he didn't get the trafficking charges, that's great for her, because now we're just looking at those two engaging in the pro word, right? So that's good for KK. She held out, but she didn't know at the time. She did not know, right? And so I'm going to say refused to testify because she didn't accept immunity. She steered clear. And this is a good outcome for her. But what we're hearing is that, yeah, y'all already know. Y'all already know what they're saying. That she was intimate with Diddy. Now, I think there's going to be more information coming out about that. I kept trying to, I was deep diving. I want proof. I don't like to just make allegations against somebody that I don't know. And so what I'm repeating to you, if it's a lie, I'm lying behind somebody else. So if y'all, are subscribed to my channel, if y'all follow me, please understand I don't start lies. I lie behind other people. Because a lot of the information in the news that we get it from mainstream media. And just like going to this trial, I learned something that I will forever take away is that 75%, well, maybe that's too high. I'm going to say 60% of what you hear in the media, especially if it's salacious, is probably not all true, right? I can remember before going to this trial, I was prepared to hear about Beyonce. I thought we were going to see, not necessarily see the freak off tapes, but however they did say stuff like, oh, the freak off tapes are going to be shown and all this stuff. We didn't see no celebrities. The only celebrities we heard of, Michael B. Jordan, maybe Ray J's name was mentioned, but it wasn't anything with them involved in the freak offs. It was like, oh, Michael B. Jordan, his name was mentioned because he had at some point dated Diddy. Maybe Diddy kind of had a little confrontation with him, stuff like that. So they even said we were going to hear about J-Lo. Ain't heard nothing about no J-Lo. Allie Carter, these tunnels, ain't said it about Allie Carter. And I don't really believe her story either, but that's another story. So it's a lot of things that I learned. Even you have to vet mainstream media. You have to, even when you hear something, and I hope that I've done a good job not to always take a narrative and run with it, and to kind of rely on common sense, right? Some things just sound ridiculous. I'm not believing it. Like, okay, yeah. Like one lady was saying that she had beat up Diddy, pulled him out the fire, some fairies was chased. Some stuff sounds like, girl, you was on some shrooms. You was doing something. I'm not going to repeat that kind of a lie because it just sounds like a lie to me. It was Judge Judy who always says, if it sounds like a lie, it's a lie, right? So that's kind of been my rule of thumb and how I approach, retelling things on YouTube. Some stuff is just too salacious, it's ridiculous, and it's unbelievable, and I'm not. But I will say, most of my lies have been lying behind somebody else, People out here calling the content creators lies, and they put narratives and that they're biased. Most of us are biased. Mainstream media is different, legacy media, I would say. So they're calling YouTube new media. We are here giving commentary, we're giving our opinions, and the whole thing about journalistic integrity, it's a gray area because these are for entertainment value purposes. The news in its traditional sense historically had been designed for mass audience or mass media to present information to the public. Over the years, it has transformed into more of an entertainment value. No, not Joyce. I don't, ma'am, if you heard something or whatever, the question, come on, if I misspoke, then like you're gonna have to use some common sense. Inject some common sense here, right? Let's not be ridiculous. P. Diddy and Michael B. Jordan may have had an issue over Cassie, but I mean, if you can't comprehend on that fundamental level, then girl, I don't know what to tell you. But anyway, so mass media, the way it was set up initially years ago it wasn't necessarily for entertainment. It was to present like mass information, right? That's what it was for. And it's evolved over the years. So now it's become entertainment. It's like you got sponsors, you got advertisers. So everybody puts their spin on things. And so I think that's the difference with YouTube. We are not subject to a network telling us, oh, you can't say that because we're going to lose some advertising dollars. Although it does happen with YouTube as well. YouTube has its guidelines. Certain videos, they will say, oh, that's not advertiser friendly. So we have a bit of what the legacy media, some of the same constraints we do, but it's different. like for like the Fox News or the CNNs, like they have lobbyists and they are politically influenced and all of those things. So there's kind of like a narrative, and you're not going to be working for them if you don't fit that bill, right? So with us though, with YouTube, our reactions are can be immediate. As soon as something happens, we can hop on, hey, da 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 da, and we're unfiltered. We just tell you how we feel. Are we right or wrong? It doesn't matter. You got to think about with the legacy media, they have copywriters, they have people, they have producers. Somebody's writing the copy, somebody's telling you how to look in front of the camera, somebody's editing this, and the producer saying this is the narrative we want to give, and they're supposed to be neutral. Even when you are presenting the information, even if it's a sad story, it's like, you because I done cried on here. I took the videos down, but if something I'll be crying. It ain't, you can't do that. You crying, no, because you're supposed to be unbiased. So when people are talking about content creators being biased, this is a different medium. Yeah, we can be biased. It's nothing wrong with that. I prefer more objectivity, because I think when you're biased, you're blinded to some of the information you're giving people, right? And you're putting your spin on it, your narrative, which is fine. And if your subscribers, if that's what they're coming to you for, then that's what you're supposed to do. I like when we were covering the Diddy trial, I would try to just be to digest the information more from a legal perspective, right? Not even bias or not bias, but not even. I looked at it more from what my training had been. Um, I just try to look at things in a formulaic way, right? And just how when I used to, work with the attorneys and, do filings and just think, what does this mean? Right or wrong? Don't matter that I think it's right, doesn't matter that I think it's wrong, but what are we saying here? So that's kind of how I looked at everything. And then of course, when we get Cassie on the stand and stuff, Diddy was absolutely wrong. But when Cassie has, and Takapino, I showed that video earlier where Takapino is an attorney, and I've worked with attorneys for so long. I did that for almost a decade. Takapino was saying, yes, you're saying that you didn't want to do it. You didn't want to do the freak offs, but you also have emails where you memorialize that you like freak offs. How are we to determine what is? You're asking them to go back a decade, and that's the problem with a lot of lawsuits. You want the jury to decide or understand what you literally meant. We don't know what was in your head. We don't know what your intentions were. So your email is your memorializing your thoughts, and your thoughts said, "Hey, I want to have a freak off forever." So that's what we got to go by. You said two different things. So Alexander Bradshaw, hey, thank you for joining. You said then Diddy is gay. I'm gonna say, hold on one second. Okay, the way I'm calling it, based on the testimony that I heard, I'm gonna say Diddy probably is bi. Maybe he's in the closet. I don't think he's a heterosexual male, right? Just based on testimony and some of the things that he did. That's just how I see it, but I'm not a clinician. I can't call it. But hold on one second. When I looked up, the kind of voyeur, and y'all know we can't say certain words, and cuck, when I looked it up to kind of get a better understanding, and y'all go online. If you don't know what it is, you can go online. It'll give you, Storm Monroe gave a good little history and an explanation about it as well. When I looked it up, it said that the CUCK, generally, I think it says something like the majority of men that participate in that are bi or gay. And here's the thing, it wasn't like it was a one-time thing with Diddy. It was something that he constantly did. And the fact that he was always asking these women to get the men to send them their pictures of their, it's like, like you like it. You know what I'm saying? That's turning you on. But again, I don't know enough about that lifestyle, but we did hear, testimony that I think Cassie at one time had said, she asked him, like, let's do another woman. And she probably was picking at him because she was like, yeah, I know you don't want no another woman because you know. But because I'm thinking, for the most part, y'all correct me if I'm wrong. Most women, like if your man wants to do a 3, right? It's like, I'm just saying the average because I know people do it. And maybe I'm so old school. Maybe I'm just too old school to even weigh in on it. Because I don't ask me to do ish with nobody. I'm an only child. I don't share my guacamole. So I'm not sharing no, no, I don't want to do it. But so the man might be like, okay, I can't be with you. But so let's say your man asks you to do that and you're like, okay, I'll think about it. Maybe I will. If he continues to ask, to me, I think a lot of women would eventually say, like he wants another woman. Eventually, the women are going to say, well, let's bring another man in so I could be double pleasure too. When Cassie said bring another woman in, he wasn't down with that. I don't even know if they did it. I can't remember what his response was, but he wasn't into that at all. Like a lot of men want to do 2 women. They do. That's what I've heard. Diddy? No. So that for me showed me that he may be a little bit, you know. But anyway, y'all, thank you for joining me. Please hit the like button. So let me wrap in saying that. So what we found out is, for whatever reason, the defense and the government have agreed that they're going to stick to the original sentencing date. This was a pre-sentencing hearing, and so it's going to be October 3rd. And no, there's not going to be no bail. I told you guys before, Charlucci was on the Uda show, Uda on Go, and he said that bail was still an option. Maybe they're still going to be doing something behind the scenes, but Diddy is going to be staying in jail until his sentencing, and that's going to be October 3rd. Okay? So thank y'all for joining me. Please go check out some of my pre-recorded videos. I did a video about Cassie and how I felt that the government played her and set her up. Go check that out. I did a video about Uda. Oh, I haven't published that yet. I'm about to publish a video about Uda. Uda is the guy who was with Armand in the baby oil situation. Uda on Go. Y'all, go check him out. Uda, when I first got to court, which was like May 22nd, first day of opening arguments, Uda had maybe less than 500 subscribers. This man has grown to over close to 20,000 at this point, maybe 18,000. And he's been there every day. He was there today. Uda has been boots on the ground, sun up to sun down, every day. He's even been to the MDC. Y'all know that's where Diddy is being housed. He was there for the 4th of July. So go check out Uda. If you go check him out, tell him Celebrity ScandaLust sent you. And I'm about to do a video on him. But yeah, thank you guys for joining. And I'll see you on the next video. Bye.